All right, we are live. So today is Sunday, January 26th, and that's second episode of webTalkTO. So I am Sergey, and we have Marwan here. And
Hello.
Marwan, can you tell us why did we call our show webTalkTO? What does it mean?
Well, we tried a few names and spent the whole day on this topic alone. And we're calling it webcast, podcast. Um,
Screencast,
and we
yeah.
both live in Toronto, so we're like, okay, it should have Toronto in the name. That's why TO. And I think, yeah, WebTalk it flows nicely. WebTalk TO.
Yes.
And it covers because we didn't want to call it web podcast since it's also like a screen sharing type of show. So WebTalk made the most sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you like it still?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's
Yeah.
sometimes I forget the name, so I'm like, Web Toronto Web Talk, or but since we have it on the
Can't
screen,
forget
then
your own show, Sergey.
I will get used to it for sure. But I'm very happy that like what we have right now. It's very good.
Same here. Yeah, the first episode was it was a bit too long, but it was still good overall.
Well, like we learned a lot. Now we're trying a different setup. Everyone can see like our faces are much bigger on the screen. Hopefully my voice is louder. Like we tried a couple of other things. So yeah, like there are improvements all over the place. And
Yeah.
last episode, like we had the first commenter. What was his name? It was Xin.
Ching,
Jin.
Ching.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he thanked.
Shout out to Ching for his first comment, for our
Yes.
first comment ever.
Yes. Like we're very happy. Please leave us the comment if you like the show. And if you want to share something with us, or if you want us to talk about something, then please leave comments. So
Yeah.
Shin asked us to show him some green stuff. We have no idea what does it mean, so here is a plenty of green for you.
Well, I have some idea, but yeah, there's all the green you can get.
Yes,
It's kind of an insider joke.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into our first presentation, which is about same-site cookies. And later we'll have one more of the sharing corner, or now we renamed it to weekly corner. I should probably update the text. So, okay, let's get started.
We'll come up. Eventually, we'll land on a good name
Yep.
for that section.
Okay, same-site cookies. So in
So,
this,
Sergey,
yep,
just to level set,
yep.
like I have no idea what same-site cookies are,
Oh,
and
that's
I
good.
didn't research anything.
That's
And that's
awesome.
the whole, I guess, idea of the show that we would pick topics that we don't know about.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're trying to share the
So
topic.
imagine that
Yeah.
I have no background. I want to know what same-site cookies are.
Yes, and it's very good because like I do believe that I would explain. I will tell you exactly what same-site cookies are doing, how they are used, and a couple more things. So that's what we have on our agenda today. So first we're learning about same-site cookies. Then there is some change that is coming on February 4th, 2020, which is very soon, and we're going to
Okay.
learn about the impact. So first, let's maybe quickly cover what cookies are used for today. So they're used to identify users on the websites, make sure that they're logged in, and potentially for some tracking. Like the cookies might be used for tracking by various analytics devices or pixels. Cookies are used to store preferences, just to remember what is the theme color that users are preferring, or what is the font color, or maybe a lot of other things. And cookies might be used for segmentation of traffic, feature testing, A/B testing, personalization. So they would just remember what segment user fell into, or what was the thing that they like, and based on that, they would see different results. And there might be plenty of other examples. So, brief overview of cookies. So cookies are being passed between client and server via headers. And cookies can be read by browsers via JavaScript as long as they're not set with HTTP only flag, in which case they would only be transferred between browser and server. And cookies which are set with secure flag are only passed via HTTPS connection. So last time, Marwan, you were wondering what are zombie cookies, and if you kind of look at this Mozilla documentation, then at the bottom here it mentions that there are ever cookies or zombie cookies, and basically the concept is those are kind of ways to identify a user that might detect whether, like, what are all of the possible different ways to store information on the user device, either through web storage API, local storage, session storage, cookies, you name it, and it tries to kind of like maybe potentially even if your browser still supports Flash out of the box, then it might store cookies in there as well. So it would try to find all of the ways to kind of remember you as a user, kind of identify you, and if you try to clear one of those storages, then it would immediately replicate itself into others. So those are the zombie cookies.
So how did they replicate each other? Like there will be like some JavaScript code?
Yeah, there must be some JavaScript code that like constantly checks like problem on a timeout, or like maybe it can listen to some events, and then like based on that it would know to check if like what it knows about the user.
And that does happen. Like there are websites out there that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This?
So there is that feature, like if you want to clean something, let's try to go to Amazon, and say Amazon set some cookies in my browser right now. So I might try to now go and clear all of the cookies, so they are not replicating it. It seems like, at least in cookies. But I've seen websites where like right after you clear the cookies, you will immediately see that something
See them again.
would pop up. And I was thinking that it's probably like it must be very easy to do. Like you can kind of even like write some program that would notice, kind of observe what's happening in the user browser if cookies kind of got deleted, and maybe before that happened, before user tried to delete the cookies, it can try to read the content, kind of the value of the cookies into memory, and like immediately after you delete it, detect that you did that and put them back. So that's always a possibility, but I wonder what are the ways to prevent that. Like maybe there are ways to kind of detect cookies shouldn't be set too often, and then maybe if user clicks the clear, then like it's after that you can set cookies like very quickly. I don't know.
Yeah, like the it's kind of on the browser vendor to kind of protect the users when it comes to this. Yeah.
Trying to think like if there are any examples. Not here for sure. All right.
I have seen it. I've seen it before.
Okay.
But I never thought about the topic and that they're called zombie cookies and stuff. It's kind of a thing.
All right, let's move on. So when we are talking about same-site cookies, we need to understand what kind of first-party versus third-party context means. And let's first kind of understand how cookies are being sent. So you might have a page that is being rendering in your browser, and that page, together with the response that you're getting from the server, together with the markup for this page, you might get the header being set that says set cookie. So like that's the example. You were loading this page and you were getting the cookie for this domain. And this page might embed images, JavaScript, iframes, etc., that where each one of those might also be setting cookies for their domains. So say this is maybe a YouTube and this is maybe Facebook, and they would set YouTube and Facebook cookies respectively. So this cookie over here would be called kind of first party cookie. It would be set in the first party context, and those cookies would be set in third party context. And then when you're kind of like going through various pages, either on your website or maybe across other websites, as long as there is a resource who might be coming from, say, like YouTube or Facebook domains, when browser is requesting those pages, it would also see that there is a request for Facebook or YouTube, and it would see, okay, I have a cookie for it, so let me give it to this resource. So that's the way to identify kind of users, to track them, maybe to log them into their sessions so that you can add videos to watch later list, or post a comment.
Question.
Yeah.
Can you go over one more time, like the difference between first and third party? Like how does that work again?
Yes. So with first party cookies, this is basic. That means that cookie was set for the domain that you were requesting. And third party would be for the resources that might potentially be embedded on the page that you requested. And those resources might set their own cookies for the domains that you didn't explicitly request.
Okay, so the browser is classifying cookies in that way?
Yes, and we're going to look at some examples of how exactly, like which domains are kind of treated as first party versus third party.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So it's just like what we are trying to understand on those slides is like how cookies are being set, like from various resources, and then how they're being read by the browser, how they're being forwarded by the browser to the servers later.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. So like as comment says here, a cookie in third-party context is currently in today's world, it's set when visiting different pages, right? Okay. And that's the example here. So say you're visiting site.com and hello? Oh, our video froze, so I thought that we might be offline. Okay.
So, yeah, I thought it was me, so it froze for you too?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and yeah, it says your network is causing poor call quality. Well, it's recording right now on my end, so I think we're good.
Your voice did cut off here and there, just as an FYI.
Mm-hmm. But is it loud enough? Like here I have microphone really close.
It's loud. Like it was cutting off, as in like I think the network connection wasn't great at some points in time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. So say you're visiting site.com and the site.com kind of is requesting site.net. Like site.net may be setting some cookies for the site.com, right? Then say, can site.net read cookies from site.com? What do you think?
Well, it's completely different domain.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say no.
Right. Yeah, so browsers wouldn't forward those. And I would give some more examples. I would not tell you the answer right away because, like there are some more complicated examples. And in the next slide after this one, I'm going to reveal the answers. So potentially our audience might find that entertaining as well to try to guess. So say
anything to entertain people.
Yes. So say like you have site.com and you have site.com, right? Then if you set some cookies on site.com, would site.com be able to read them?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think so?
Because behind the scenes, what the browser is doing, like when you type in without www, it's just implicit, so it's the same thing.
Correct, but domains are still different though. Like this domain, like it's kind of, is it third level domain? Like while this is second level. So you have root, which is .com, and then you have site, which is the first level, and then www would be the second level.
Okay.
But something that you mentioned before, like about domains being the same or different, like that matters. So we'll leave it here for now, and then let's move to the next one.
Yeah, this one sounds tricky. Like I would have thought for sure they'd be the same, but it doesn't seem like.
Mm-hmm. And then if you have site.io, would site.io be able to read cookies from site.io? Like if cookies were set for site.io. It's the same example.
Yeah. Yeah. Same logic would apply.
Mm-hmm.
But if the main domain, what did you call it? So the root is IO, and then site is first level domain?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so that, you would think it's, like usually it's like, you have a main site, and then let's say you have an app on that website, so it would go like app.site.io. So usually it's the same person.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows?
Yep. Okay, so it's good that you mentioned that. And slightly more complicated example. So alpha site.io versus beta site.io.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe no.
Okay, that's some good guessing. And then say more realistic example, user 1 github.io versus user 2 github.io.
Would you have like domains like that though?
Yeah, like today, like you can use github.io to post your kind of public pages, right?
Yeah, true.
And say,
yeah, true. Oh, this is not github.com. This is for the pages, GitHub pages,
yes,
right?
yes.
Okay. True. Yeah, true. Because that's basically, okay, so this tells me that the subdomains can be dynamic. Like maybe it's not owned by the same. Yeah.
Yep, and we'll go over it as well. And then these are the answers. So here, site.com and site.net are completely different websites. And that's not just the domain that makes them different. There is a thing called public suffix that is listing, I think if you look at the list, then it's a place where various companies, government websites, ISPs might submit domains as kind of like being as prefix domains. So see, like you have AC here, like you have some country websites here, AG, AF, like there should be .com here.
Video froze for a second.
.net. And okay, and here we have like this public suffix list have a list of domains like say like for .com. This is what kind of like this is like if you think about it, like when you have site1.com and site2.com, even in that case, those sites are different, right? But why? And the reason is because there is that prefix that is kind of like, imagine as if you can like almost remove it out of the picture, like from first party context versus third party, and like what is the domain? Does the name matches? So like when you have site site1.com and site2.com, then they are not the same, right? The site1 is not the same as site2.
Right.
So in that scenario, and similarly, if prefix doesn't match, then like at that point, the website is no longer first party as well. So
is the prefix the .com as the prefix?
Yes. So in here, like on the public suffix, sorry, not prefix.
Oh, suffix.
Like all the time when I was saying prefix, that means suffix. So .com is marked as suffix, right? And then .net is somewhere here on the list too. And we can see that .com doesn't really match .net. So here we go. Like that means that cookies from this site would be treated as third party on this website and vice versa.
Okay, right.
So that's third party context. Then when we saw site.com versus site.com, so we know that suffix matches, then we see that site is matching. So if we set the cookie to be like, on cookies you can specify domains, so like if domain will say site.com, then the cookie can be shared between both of them, and it would be treated as a first party cookie for both of them. However, if you set specifically a cookie for site.com, then site.com will not get that cookie.
Will not, okay.
Yes. And same idea with site.io versus subsite.io. I just used that as another example to trick you a little. And then say we have alpha site.io and beta site.io. So I actually put kind of that they will be treated as first party, but only in the case when site.io domain is set on the cookie. However, if you set, again, like if you set the alpha site.io as a cookie domain, then it would only work for this domain. It would only be treated as first party cookie. First party cookie for this website and third party cookie for this site, and vice versa.
Okay.
And
where do you set that? Where do you set that cookie domain? Like, is that in the response header or it's?
Yes. So it's say like we go to, for example, this panel over here and go to application, look at the cookies. Well, like there are no Indian or maybe DuckDuckGo settings.
I like how you use DuckDuckGo.
Yes, thank you.
I'm starting to use it too. It's actually pretty good.
So, for example, here this website, developermozilla.com, like it set the cookie that has this value, and domain was specified as developermozilla.com, and where it derived from. So we can find that in network panel. We can search by something that set cookie domain, and probably have to reset it. So developer.mozilla.com. So that who am I request is the one that in header, in response header, it set cookie with this domain.
Okay, so there's a set cookie response header. That's what sets the domain.
Yes.
And what was that thing that you just did? Like set cookie domain and then developer? What is? It's just like a search?
It's a way to filter, yes. So if you're not familiar with that feature, so you can like put a focus in filter box, press Control Space, and then like it gives you a list of things that it can find for you, like say what set cookie domain, and then again Control Space gives me like more options. So if something here would set multiple cookies, like I'm sure that Amazon is setting a whole bunch of, and then like now you can, just 2. Didn't expect that. That's good. Oh, probably because I'm using Brave to block third parties. So let's see now.
Yeah.
And here we go.
That's an interesting test.
Yes, so please use Brave if you want to protect your privacy. But anyway.
Brave is amazing, man.
Yes, so like it has that feature where it would know like cross-site cookies, otherwise known as third-party cookies, would be blocked. You can block all cookies or allow all cookies, depending. Like sometimes some websites might just break because you're blocking too many cookies.
Right.
Anyway, so we have this post suffix website, and say an example of user 1 GitHub.io versus user 2 GitHub.io. That's where you really want to kind of separate, like even though like all of them are on the same website, if one of them sets the cookie to be GitHub.io, then the other one should have no access to it, right? And the way how it works for GitHub.io, and maybe you've seen that with some, Canada government site. So usually, well, like now they have Canada.ca, but there are some examples where they're using, so say like gc.ca, right? Like a whole bunch of government websites use kind of like those. And how do they separate travel from, I don't know, immigration from, like treasury, right? That's where they actually can submit like multiple sections of the domain as being a suffix. So if we search for GitHub.io, then here we go. GitHub Inc. submitted by Patrick Tommy from securitygithub.com, and he submitted GitHub.io as being a suffix. So that means that now applying the same logic where we have like browser would look at list of known suffixes, it would look if suffix matches, yes, it matches, and then do you have user 1 or user 2, and then do those match? No. So hence cookies from those websites would be treated as third party for themselves.
Okay, and this public suffix is like committee or something?
Yeah, I guess it's just some official way like for browsers and companies to define, like ISPs to define what is the known suffixes that, for the websites.
Okay. So all the browser vendors are supposed to connect to this data set.
Yes. Here like government of UK, so submitted service government.uk as the suffix. So they might have probably A service government UK, B service, C service, and etc. And they want to kind of separate cookies, separate contexts between those.
Okay, cool.
Right. And one more tricky question. So like, what do you think about this example where you have user 1 GitHub.io and www user 1 GitHub.io? Would it be treated as SameSite or?
I wouldn't. Given the logic from the second one, it would be treated as different. Is that true?
So let's try again like with that logic. So first we'll look at the prefix, right? And prefix matches. Then we'll look at
postfix, you mean?
Yes, we'll look at suffix, yes. And it is matching. Then we'll look at the site name. So site name is matching. So that means that if someone will set cookie for user 1 GitHub.io, then it's going to also be available for www user 1 GitHub.io. But if someone will set this cookie like with this domain, then it wouldn't be passed by default to user 1 GitHub.io.
Okay. So there's some nuances related to rules. Okay.
Right, so let's move to the next one. So now same-site cookies, actually the whole kind of idea behind them. So like we already know kind of like, or at least we have an idea of what is like what is first-party context versus third-party context.
Yep.
And we looked at some examples, and now so what same-site cookie is doing, it introduces a new flag, similar to how we can set secure flag, or we can set HTTP only flag on a cookie. We can also set same-site flag, and it might have three values. It might have non-value, lax value, and strict value. And the format is kind of, just you set your cookie as usual, and then after semicolon you can provide that new flag. And let's look at each one after another. So a cookie with same-site strict will only be set via a same-site request. So what does it mean? So if you have a website, say Facebook, and they would read a cookie that is a session cookie that is authorizing user to be logged in. If you're navigating from another website, say like you have a link on on YouTube or in Twitter that is linking to Facebook, then when you arrive from that resource, that resource, like that kind of navigation, is treated as third-party kind of navigation, and cookie will not be set in that context. So that's kind of a bit annoying. It might be a bit annoying, but it might be a very good way to secure your application. So why same-site cookies were invented is to help prevent a thing called CSRF, or cross-site request forgery. And what you can do with CSRF, unfortunately I don't have a slide for it, but idea is, say you were logged into your bank account, or maybe you are logged into your Facebook account, and let's imagine they don't have any protection. They only read a cookie in order to identify whether you're eligible to perform some action, transfer money or change password, for example. And we saw before that browsers, like in this slide, we saw that when browsers see that there is a request to a third-party context website, so say like you came to some bad website, like just were browsing around and you arrived to some weird website, and that website might be making a request to Facebook to potentially change your password or to your bank account to transfer money. They might craft a request in such a way where they would set kind of like, they don't really have a cookie, but your browser have that cookie from before, and as they're making a request, they would be able to transfer money or change your password. So, and for that reason, a whole bunch of companies are using tokens as a second way to verify that user that request not only have the cookie, but it also came from the trusted source. So like kind of at a high level, this is what people are currently doing to protect themselves. So if you have,
I guess just question.
Yeah.
The question, like, well, maybe I don't know too much about like how they would circumvent or use like how do they craft the request? I think they use images, right? Like they would embed an image link.
Yeah, like they might potentially use images, they might use JavaScript, like there might be like different ways. Like if you're already on the kind of bad website that looks like a good website, like it's definitely possible to scrape a page and like make it appear as it's the correct website. But at that point the attacker might send a request in background to a good website. Like they already looked at how a good website is doing it. Like they looked at it in the, say, like DevTools, or maybe like through some other network monitoring tool, and they figured out what is required to change your password or change your own password, and now they're trying to kind of rely on the fact that there is a cookie in your browser, as like some random person, and try to change that random person password to be the one that they know, so then they can use it later. So that's why same-site cookies were invented. They are trying to restrict cookies only to the site itself. And with strict, this is where cookie will only be set if you're doing kind of a navigation within the same site. So if you're on a Facebook, you logged in there and you're going from page to page, then no problem, like the cookie will still be set. But if you are coming from Twitter to Facebook, then cookie will not be passed by the browser. And in that case, you might have to log in again, or maybe kind of like enter the URL, like kind of like focus on your address bar and press enter, so that you explicitly say, I'm going to this website, in which case the cookie will be kind of retrieved again from the browser storage. So you can imagine that's not very convenient for users, but let's keep that in mind. So say like for some actions that require extra check, like maybe changing user account settings, or transfer of funds, or something else like account deletion, like in all of those scenarios you might want to consider using a strict same-site cookie. So the next one is the easy one. So cookie with same-site none will be sent to both same-site and cross-site requests. So that's what happens today. If you don't have same-site none parameter, then all of the, or like any same-site parameter, then all of the cookies today are treated as the same way as same-site none. They are being passed always, like even to in third-party context or first-party context. Okay.
Cool.
And
so that's the default right now. So
yes.
I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about vendor support, but where are we at? And do you have another slide for that?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Certainly.
I won't ask.
And locks. So this is more interesting. So this cookie will be set with same-site request or cross-site top-level navigation with a safe HTTP method. So what does it mean? So if you are going from, say, Facebook page to Facebook page, and then the same way how strict would be set, the locks would be set. And also that none cookie would also be set in all contexts. It would be set when, say, like resource is requested from some other domain, or also like when you are requesting resources on your own domain, or as you're navigating through the website. However, the difference between lax and strict is that if you are like over here it says, if you're doing a cross-site top-level navigation with a safe HTTP method, which means GET requests. So if you're kind of like on Twitter and you click on the Facebook link, then in order to reduce that inconvenience for users, where they have to enter the kind of password again in order to log in, so that's where the lax would help, and it would kind of pass the cookie, but only for that GET request. If you're trying to do it through POST request somehow, then in that case it wouldn't be passed.
So in that case, it would be on the API developers to ensure that they're following best practices in terms of calls that have side effects should not be GET calls. Stuff like that.
Yes. So examples would be, say, like same-site none would be set for those vendors that are providing widgets, like say Discuss comments, Facebook comments, Twitter embedded feeds, tweets, and YouTube videos. So those are the examples. Then lax is probably should be something that should be used everywhere, so that you're kind of like trying to protect yourself from cross-site request forgery attacks, but also don't want to kind of annoy the users with the fact that they have to log in every time. And strict is for more kind of restricted areas.
Cool.
All right, and then support. So it is supported pretty much everywhere today. So you can like safely use it.
Wow.
There are some examples where like there are some kind of small bugs, but for the most part you can use strict and lax, and can most certainly start experimenting with them. And there is another website over here, SameSite sandboxglitch.me, which would tell you when cookie, like what kind of support your current browser has, like with different examples.
Okay, cool.
And then, so what's changing on February 4th? It's kind of like the main reason why I started this talk, because currently the same, like I said before, the cookies that don't have same site flag are treated as same site none, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after Chrome releases its new version 80 on February 4th,
No way.
Yes.
They're gonna be treating it as lax?
Yes, so all cookies that don't have same site attribute would be treated as lax. So what it means is that they're trying to make it backwards compatible, like as much as possible, but this change should really help to kind of start enforcing use of same site, as well as protecting users from from CSRF attacks.
So this is a decision that Google has made, or Chrome team. It's not being followed by Firefox. And
Yes, Firefox will follow that as well. So they are in agreement, and I do believe that Safari is joining them. And since IE is now transferring to the Chrome engine as well, then they would also get that feature.
Okay.
Right. And one more thing. So if you're a vendor who is provider of like some widgets, and the requirement is that you should set same site none, right? Otherwise, if you don't set it, then it by default it would be set as same site lax. So that means that all of the users who are authenticated will no longer be authenticated. So you have to set it. But one extra requirement that Chrome team is setting is that you also must put the secure flag when you put same site none. And you can only...
Secure will make it HTTP only?
HTTPS only.
Mm.
So you can only transfer that cookie over HTTPS connection. And what is the impact? Well, like we're going to look at it in a second. Let's do some kind of like overview of demo of like how it works today. So there is the website Troy Hunt, where he wrote about way of kind of like dealing with same site policy, with that new same site policy. So all of that material is from his article. But basically, we have this origin site from azurewebsites.net, and we have external site from azurewebsites.net, right? And on the origin site, on this page, we're just setting some cookies. So if we look at this panel, then we can see that it's set default cookie with no same site cookies parameters. Just trying to adjust it quickly. Nice. Secure. So this last one is the flag for same-site cookies, and we can see that the default one have no same-site set on it. The lags has lags, none says none, strict cookie says strict. And by default we're requesting this page over HTTP connection. So as a result we don't have a secure cookie over here. So we set those, and now we're trying to read those cookies. So we can see that it did set non-cookie, it set default cookie, it set lags cookie. You can see that over here it didn't set the strict cookie, and the reason for that is because I clicked on that link from slides.com, right? So here you can already see like how it works with strict cookie. But if I refresh this page on its own, then you can see that strict cookie was set. Then let's see how it behaves when you have external site. So what that site has is it's loading the origin site in the iframe, and there is a request, like an image request. There is an option to do a get request from external site and make a post request from external website. So if I reload it, we can see that none of the cookies were set. I should probably also, one thing to watch out is I have to disable Brave Shield, because otherwise you would see that it's blocking all of the third-party cookies, right? So something to remember as you're dealing with this, as you're trying to kind of understand how it works, is to ensure that you don't have those blockers.
Yeah.
So what we see here, okay, so we can see that non-cookie, the cookie that doesn't have same site, was set, and that's kind of like the today's default behavior. Sorry, like we have default cookie, that's the default behavior, and we have the cookie that has same site equal none, cookie that works the same way how today's default cookie is working.
This is with the get call, right?
Correct.
Oh, it doesn't.
So we're loading an iframe here, and that iframe comes from the origin site. That origin website has cookies, so browser is sending those cookies into the iframe. And we also have an image over here. So let's see how it works with the image. Oops, have to use that. So cookie. All right. So we don't see any cookies being passed by, but that's another cache. We can see that this resource comes from memory cache, so you probably want to, like try as you're playing with it, like try to maybe do like empty cache and hard reload so that you understand it better. But this cookie in request headers, it also passed the non-cookie and default cookie. So the same way how iframe was passing it down, the same way the image was passing it down. Okay, and then if we make a get request from that external website to the origin website, then we can see that none and default were passed, as well as lags was passed. Okay. And then if we try to do, and here is another trick. So why lags cookie is shown here, right? Like that might be confusing. It should not be, right? Like because it should only be set when you're doing a safe navigation, but now that iframe is loading in unsafe way. So why is it being set here? And the answer is, again, that iframe is that read cookies request, and you can see that this is coming from disk cache. So here is another cache. When you're trying to understand how to work with it, better to disable cache.
Yeah.
Yes, and now if we go back, then it's all kind of like coming with what it's supposed to come with. It's definitely like also depends on how the caching is set up for that resource. And next, if you're making a post request, so we can see that non-cookie is passed, default cookie is passed, but no lags.
Log.
And that's because now we're doing the post navigation, not a get navigation. So as a result, browser is not setting it. So at a high level, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
So when does the strict cookie? You can never get it, I guess, unless you're on the same.
You can, yes, like you can get it if you are. So now I'm refreshing still post, but say like I'm doing, like I'm navigating directly to the website. Like I myself as a user entered that URL and pressed enter, right? Or like I might be going from this website within that website to some other pages on that website, and the cookie would still be passed.
Okay, gotcha.
And
that's a really, really good example.
I agree. Yeah, Troy Hunt did a great job here. And let's look at the Chrome flags feature over here. So like now we are going to enforce that new behavior that Chrome is introducing. So I have, I wonder if I have canary, no. If I would have canary, then I would demonstrate that today it kind of shows the warning on some websites. Oh, here actually. So a cookie associated with a resource origin was set with SameSite none, but without secure. A future release of Chrome will only deliver cookies marked as SameSite none only if they are also marked as secure. So you're kind of like today you're getting this this warning if you go to some websites. So, for example, on Amazon.
I've seen that message. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have.
You've probably seen that like many times. Oh, they did it. There is one here that they need to adjust. So here it says in future version of Chrome it would break. And now if we try to...
Well, there you go. That's a free tip to the Amazon team.
Yes.
Great job, Sergey.
Yeah. I'm sure that there are plenty of others like Walmart. Well, there are a lot of things they need to address, and I know Lowe's.
Maybe you can consult with Sergey for a fee, and he will go in and fix all your same-site cookie problems.
Oh, okay. Wow. So here are 25 examples on Lowe's website.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yep. Okay, and let's try to force that new behavior now. So we can turn on same-site cookies by default so that it would force the lags value, I believe. Try again. So this is enabled, and we are also going to enforce this flag that cookies might be secure. Right?
So you shouldn't be getting those deprecation messages anymore.
So instead of those messages, what we're going to see now, so instead of a future version of Chrome will kind of like prevent setting this cookie, now it says this cookie has been blocked. And we're going to look at the impact, but now let's go back to our example and try to understand. Try to understand what changed. So again, we set all of our cookies on the HTTP website, and we're going to read cookies. So we see default cookie is there, but non-cookie is not there, and Lex cookie is there. So Lex cookie makes sense. We went from slides to this website. Default cookie makes sense because, that's how it used to work before. And non-cookie was not set. The reason for it is there is no HTTPS connection here. And if we try to go directly, then we can see that now strict cookie is set because I forced the refresh on this page. Yeah. Okay, then we are going to look at this page where we're loading iframe as well as keep pressing that. So as well as image, and let's see. So for the iframe, none of the cookies were set. Default cookie was not set because it doesn't have SameSite. Because it has been treated as lax, right? That was one of the changes, and because lax requires kind of a safe HTTP transition from one page to another, and that's not what we're doing here. That's why it wasn't set. A strict cookie was not set in before either, and non-cookie is not set since we are not on the secure connection.
And default cookie?
The default cookie was not set because it's been treated as lax, right?
Oh, right.
Yes. And here we have an image request, and again, like none of the cookies were passed in the request. Now let's try to do a GET request from external to origin, and we can see that lax cookie is set, and default, since it's treated the same way as lax, it was set. And if we try to make a post request, so there is one trick here. So none of the cookies were set here because that's not a secure, it's not a safe way to navigate from one page to another, right? It's not a GET request, it's a post request. Strict cookie, since wasn't set because we're doing the cross-site navigation. And what else? Did I forget something?
So how did they do? Can you go back? This was a post request that redirected?
That's a post request from external website to the origin website. So default cookie is not set since it's treated as lax, and lax cookie is not set since it's not a safe method. Strict cookie is not set since
they're not on the same.
Yes, and secure, that non-cookie was not set because we're not on HTTPS connection.
So this is the future configuration that's going to be in Chrome.
Yes.
In February.
Yes.
What you just did using the flags, like setting the flags, you're just assuming is today.
Correct.
It's happened.
Yes. However, there is one gotcha here. And let me show you what it is. So we are setting the cookies right now. So we set all of the cookies, and we are doing the post request navigation. And okay. So 1 second. Okay, setting cookies, yes. Reading cookies, all good. And trying to make a post request. So make sure that I don't have caching. Okay, there might be one more flag that I need to enable. Copy link address. Because there is one more behavior that is same. Set. Remove all third-party cookies. Okay, so alright, there is one thing that I cannot demonstrate, but maybe I can try to explain it. I think that's because I'm using the flags. However, the real behavior that we're going to get in Chrome is a bit different. Canary, I'm also going to install that quickly. Canary browser. Right. So what I'm trying to show is that lax cookie, so the default cookies that are treated as lax, and we know that Lex doesn't support post navigation. There is a gotcha here, and the gotcha is that there are a lot of websites that use kind of third-party authenticators, like say maybe SSO for Microsoft, single sign-on. That might take you to a live.com website where you have to log in, and from there it might do like some post request to your website where it would also pass some cookies.
Right.
And setting default cookies as Lex by default is breaking that authentication. I should move that here. So it's breaking that authentication because cookie is no longer being passed for the Lex cookies. So what?
Because it's an unsafe operation, right?
Correct. It's kind
but
of.
But you really need it. You need that.
It's unsafe method, but that's how today's web is working. So, and Chrome team understands that they don't want to break the web. So let's see if we can reproduce. So
not this time, anyways. I mean, usually they like to break the web. This time.
Yeah, it's possible. So let's see like if it actually works here. Console. Alright, so it still says a future release. So one more gotcha with SameSite cookies. I'm going there are a lot of things that I'm running into. So see how I'm using Chrome Canary version 81.
Yeah.
And even though I'm using kind of a version that is later than the one where they would turn that feature on, it still says that a future release of Chrome will kind of like block the cookies, but doesn't make sense, right? Like why the future version doesn't set it by default while the other one before it will set it? And the answer is that like depending, they are only going to enable it in the stable version of Chrome, and probably they will do like a kind of a percentage base rollout, so that like maybe not all users will get it right away.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
they're gonna test it out in Chrome Canary, maybe later in a later version.
Yes. So what Chrome team would do, like what I was trying to show, and I wasn't able to do that through the flags, is when you're doing the kind of the moment when you set the cookies. After you set the cookies, you have 2 minutes to do that post navigation, and the Lex cookies would be passed for that post navigation. Not the Lex one, the ones that don't have SameSite cookies at all, that are treated by default as Lex. So they are doing that in order to try not to break. So you have kind of 2 minutes after that. They are thinking that like maybe this way we keep it secure, but also, while given enough time for the vendors to migrate their implementations.
Okay, that's a pretty good solution.
Yep.
So it's a time box solution.
Yes. Okay, and one more example, just we're going to see non-cookie being set now in many more places since we're doing the HTTPS. So we have that secure non-cookie that is being set, but we don't see regular non-cookie since it is missing the secure flag. And same stuff here. So now it should see secure non-cookie over here, and the image also has it. It would be passed through the post request as well as get request. And since it's get, then we're getting some Lex cookies as well. Alright, so we are done with this demo. I think the last section is to talk about the impact. So places like Discuss, Facebook comments, embedded videos on YouTube, Twitter widgets, like all of those should update their implementation to use the SameSite non-secure, the one that you see here. Then things like analytics and real user monitoring tools are going to be impacted. So in case if you have vendors like that, like we saw on the Loss website, that means that after February 4th, they will probably see a spike of unique users. And that's because those tools just are treating every single navigation on the website as unique navigation, because they, like, in case when they didn't update their implementation.
Oh, so what is RUM? RUM?
Real user monitoring tools.
Oh, real user monitoring tools. Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, that's okay. So two things. So the first thing, will they, like most of the widgets, I guess they're already being served through HTTPS, right?
Yeah,
So it's just a matter of them setting that, adding those additional attributes to the set cookie.
correct, yes.
Okay. And yeah, that's wow. The analytics is gonna see a spike, I guess.
Yes, they should make an update on their end. So basically, what should happen right now is those vendors, or like if you're a vendor, you should update the implementation on your end to kind of set the cookie properly with proper attributes, and then you would not see spikes of unique users. And then some OAuth implementations, like I made an example with Microsoft. They are the ones who discovered that, Chrome release would break them. So as a result, they're trying to protect themselves and kind of like working with Chrome so that they set that 2-minute limit.
Okay.
However, someone wrote a smart article where, a way to bypass same-site cookies default to lags and get the CSRF on the website by kind of like trying to make one request that, say, like it opens a window briefly. That window is kind of making a request to a site, to the original website in order to refresh the cookie. So it kind of like sets the fresh cookies, and now you have 2 minutes in order to kind of try to submit the CSRF.
Interesting.
Yes. So there is a whole
So that
article.
2-minute window is gonna be abused very easily.
It can be, however, like all of the examples that were presented in this article, like in my mind, they are very edge case scenarios. It's still a possibility right now, but most of the websites are using tokens anyway. It just, once the OAuth implementations would be updated and the browsers can actually enforce the proper way, then we would not have those concerns anymore. But right now, like in some very, very, very edge case scenarios, it's possible to bypass it. Yes. And I think,
Okay. So did like I haven't heard about the subject, I guess because I've been jumping between different clients, implementing
Right.
different applications. Did you guys have a lot of time to do this, like where you work right now? Because you've been there for a long time.
Yes. So we just did the analysis. We looked at what are the systems that are going to be affected, and our main ones are not being affected because we are loading them through our domain, and as a result the cookie is being set to the domain that we own, so we are not being impacted for our main analytic tools. There are some vendors that we load that potentially might have a problem, and we're trying to reach to them, like say Neuralink, like on their end they are trying to fix this problem. I'm not even sure if there is any impact, but like probably if there is a warning, it's better to fix it. And it's really up to like many of our vendors to fix that. So I would say, like, if you're an analytics person, or if you're someone who is working with marketing pixels, then in those scenarios you probably want to try to work with vendors and get them fix those as soon as possible.
And you guys just started recently? Like, did most companies were they aware for a long time about these changes, or this
Well,
was like a last minute kind of a thing?
apparently, like, well, as you saw, like, there were a lot of those warnings in the consoles, so web
Yeah.
developers should hopefully see that, but
I was always ignoring that, like, oh, what
here
is
you go.
this?
So, like, it's definitely an option, you know, like, it's a warning, it's not an error, like, I don't have to deal with it right now, like, there are other priorities. So, yeah, it's certainly, like, I'm sure that there are a lot of companies who might get affected, but again, it's up to the vendors to fix those. Right, so, and that's pretty much the end of the
Pretty much it.
SameSite cookies talk.
Awesome, man. That's a very, very sweet talk. I feeling hungry.
It was so long that
It would have been good if you had like a cookie to eat after, you know?
oh
And
yes, 100%.
like just all casual, just take out a cookie.
Hey, maybe if we'll get, like, I don't know, 1 million subscribers, then we'll send them, all of them, a cookie.
Every single subscriber a cookie? Man, that's gonna cost a fortune.
Well, if we get 1
Ah,
million, then at that point maybe we make some money out of YouTube. We'll see.
how about this?
Mm.
We'll eat a cookie for every subscriber.
Sounds good. Sounds
No,
really good.
that's even worse. No. I'd rather send it out. Yeah. Well, that's great, man. I had no idea about this same site cookie subject, so I learned a lot. Thank you so much for sharing.
Cool, yeah, no problem. It was my pleasure. So should we go over sharing corner? Like, how are we doing with time?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, let's try to.
How long has it been for us? Okay, let's go through it quickly then.
Okay, so I'm going to present. Okay, so what are we sharing today? So we have share passwords secretly. This is basically a tool called Password Pusher, and you can enter some password here, like something that you want to share with your colleague, but you don't want it to be stored within the chat logs, or, you know, like, you don't want to put it on in documentation. You just want to, like, you know, like, privately share something that should only be transferred between you and that other person. So you can set some expiration time here, push it, and it generates a unique URL that now I can send to you, and you know, like, it would only work for some time, like until it expires.
And you can't even see it visually, right?
Yes, I guess you have to, like, click to
That's
reveal,
cool.
and you can, like, click to copy to the clipboard.
Very cool.
Right. So next is Notion app. I don't know what
Yeah,
it
so
is.
Notion app, I can talk about that. Basically, I've used Evernote, I've used, you know, like the Mac Notes app, keep notes in different places. But Notion is like very, very versatile. I like it. I tried it maybe a year ago, and all of my notes go there now, because you can basically write long posts using Markdown, or you can do check marks or like to-dos. It's very, very, very flexible. It's almost like it's like basically like a CMS system inside your
Wow.
Notes app. So
And
very cool.
did you have to buy it, or is there a free account?
There's a free account. I believe you can have. I have multiple workspaces, so they have like workspaces within that. You can have pages, you can have notes. So far, I haven't had any limitations. I don't know where the limitations are. I'm pretty sure there's a paid version.
And can you say, like, can you search across the contents of your pages that you created?
Yes, yes, you can search. You can share and collaborate between multiple people.
And can you save, say, like, entire article into the Notion?
I didn't try that. You mentioned Pocket last time. I usually still use that, but I haven't tried it, to be honest. So it's worth
because
It's a good question.
like the reason why I'm asking, like today I'm using Evernote, and I'm using Evernote Web Clipper, which allows me to just take a part of the page or entire page and save all of that into the Evernote so that later I can read about it. So that's what I use as my kind of like technical storage of like all of the good articles.
I've used that same tool before. Like with the web clipper, I guess it's a Chrome extension
Right.
that I use.
And do you
But
use
yeah, I
Notion
don't know.
for that or no?
You know what? I'll let you know.
What is your use case? Like say like you use the workspaces, then like what, how do you organize it?
So like for example, I have a workspace, and then I have a personal workspace.
Yep.
And within that, I basically like have my to-dos, like even like weekly to-dos is where I would create a new. I mean, I also do the bullet journal. So sometimes when I need to write stuff on the computer or like maintain a to-do on the computer, that's what I would use. Ideas, like even for this show, I have multiple pages for like ideas for sharing corner, ideas for the main topics, any research that I do, I just put it all in there. Yeah, mostly like to-dos and just saving, like taking notes. I haven't tried, like embedding or caching sites or pages into it yet, but it's a good thing to try out.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Wow, it looks very, very powerful. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
Okay, let's see what next. So coding game. So it's something like a website that I came across recently, and let me show you quickly what it does. So we can log in. I guess I'm going to sign in with Google, and thanks God I'm already logged in into the account. So
otherwise it would take Sergey half an hour because he would get two-factor authentication and a password manager.
It's all very easy, like with that 1Password extension.
Have to take a piece of paper that has half of the password and then match it with.
So basically, when you come to the website the first time, then you're presented with this like onboarding game, like where and it's better if you allow autoplay as well as stop blocking some things. So and it kind of like shows you a tutorial. So basically you have that spaceship, and like you have to kind of change the algorithm somehow to destroy the ships.
What?
And it tells you like there are some rules. So the goal is to destroy all enemy ships, and you have like enemy 1 and distance 1, enemy 2 and distance 2, and kind of you can select which enemy to shoot at based on their distance. So the idea is like to kind of shoot the closest enemy to you, and they are telling you can choose like from different languages, say like JavaScript, and they're like in that onboarding they're already giving you an example of solving it. So like if distance to enemy 1 is closer than to enemy 2, then shoot it, otherwise the other one is closer, so shoot it. And here you are copying this code, entering it, and you can play test case, and we can see
that's amazing.
It is destroying all of them.
So is this for beginners or?
Yeah, so I think the idea is that like there are some advanced steps. It's not just for beginners. Like there are kind of a whole lot of different puzzles for you to show. Like I guess some of them are animated. I don't know if all of them, but yeah, like there are a lot of interesting ones. Like say like here we have the learn, say like JavaScript, and there must be that Caesar cipher that you're kind of trying to solve in Node.js code. Just trying to learn how to encrypt some code, some strings. So yeah, it's very cool. Like it's very interesting service.
That'd be okay to like give it to my nephew or something who's like 7 years old.
It's a good question. I don't know if it's for everyone. I would say like it's probably better for people who are kind of like want to get into programming and potentially
Okay.
Like potentially have some familiarities with the languages. So like, I don't know if there are courses here that teach you the language itself, but you can choose, like as long as you know JavaScript, then you probably can pick some of the examples and like try to solve them, try to see how other people solve them, can compete and contribute your own examples. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Very nice.
I've seen some of those before, but it's very, very like nice how it brings the gamification experience.
Yeah, that must have been really hard to pull off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yep.
Yeah, so Deno is basically the potential replacement for node.js. As you can see, like there was a talk by the founder of Node about all the issues that he wishes he could fix in a future version of Node. And basically, Deno is that kind of like Node 2.0. Still in early stages, but it's a project that's worth keeping an eye out on.
Interesting.
Who knows if it's going to take off.
Interesting. It's Ryan, right? Like this guy?
Yeah, Ryan something. I forgot his last name. Yeah, there was a talk of him bashing his own creation. Saying, it doesn't run in a secure runtime, which is a huge problem. This one uses TypeScript, I guess, by default. So you don't need to do, Babel or TS node.
But this example, like even though like it has TS here, you importing TS files, still it seems like he's not really using types here, so he can, I guess he can still get away without them.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of TypeScript is that you can use it. I mean we can do a whole show on TypeScript. Like it's an amazing tool and a language. Like the language is amazing, but the tooling associated with it, like even if you don't use the typing, you still get like the API, the auto completion, so many things.
Cool. Very cool. Okay, so what else? So YouTube randomizer. So I don't know if you ever do you have playlists on your YouTube?
For music?
Yes.
Yes, I have playlists, but I also have. Okay, go on. I have playlists, but it's not the greatest.
And do you have, like, do you sometimes want to shuffle the kind of the music around?
Yes.
And like, have you tried the YouTube built-in feature for it?
No. So is there a shuffle?
Yes, there is shuffle, but I believe I don't really know who uses it because it's not too smart. It doesn't remember which videos it played, so it might pick the same ones and like play them over and over. So that's where that YouTube randomizer might be very cool. Like you can just provide the list or full YouTube video and say please play those lists, and it would already arrange it for you. I guess there are some lists that don't exist, but I don't know if we find.
They're probably not embeddable or something.
See, like we go.
Martin and I just.
Coffee goes to India.
And go to his channel. Oops. Go to playlists. So can take this playlist as an example. Copy the ID. There are some videos.
Private.
Well, anyway, let's see if it will do the trick. And it would know that, like take those videos and kind of like play one after the other. You can reshuffle if you don't like it. Okay. So, yeah.
A lot of people are.
So I find it quite useful. Like I have a list that.
Yeah, I find YouTube is not that great for like YouTube YouTube is not that great for music.
Hmm.
I have YouTube Music now,
Right.
which is a bit better.
How do you
Before that, I
find
was
it?
using Apple.
Do you like
Sorry?
it? Like the YouTube Music?
Yeah, YouTube Music I like a lot. I think YouTube, if you don't get the YouTube Music, which you would get when you get YouTube Premium,
Hmm.
they almost intentionally don't give you a good music experience. Like
Interesting.
I find that as soon as you sign up for YouTube Music, like they'll, like suggest things, and you go on a mix, you click on the mix,
Hmm.
and it will just keep playing music that you've historically played or that you like. You don't get that experience with the main YouTube.
I see.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's jump to the next one. Monorepos with NX.
So, yeah, monorepos, that's a pretty big subject. So, obviously, Google started the monorepo idea back in the day. They have all their code in one place.
And what's the benefit? Like, why would you put all the code in one place?
So, great question. I mean, the biggest reason I see is that you can basically you can control your release, uh, your version release. So, for example, let's say you're working on a backend in Node or Python, and on a front end with React. There's always a challenge between maintaining compatibility between the client and the server. So if you have all your code in one place, when you release your app, your different artifacts of the app, it will always be compatible because it's all the same kind of code base.
I see. So it's for convenience for the teams to work from one repository.
Yeah, definitely. There's huge convenience there. There's code sharing. There's there's a bunch of reasons. You can also so NX is a framework that was, I believe, created by the same people who were core contributors to Angular, and it allows you to it works with React, Angular, and just generic JavaScript. So it's great for JavaScript stack. You could have your Node, your React, your Angular all be in the same place. And you could have commands that will run your tests, your development, like server, your deployment. Everything will be controlled in one place. So it's a very seamless experience. You can run your Node test, using Jest, or you can run your Angular tests all in one place. You can run everything. You can deploy everything. You can. So we migrated to a monorepo. Well, we're almost there where I work right now.
Yeah.
Thanks to my two colleagues who've really invested a lot of time in this. And we were starting to see the benefits, and this NX framework is really, really great.
Wow, that's very cool. I would love to see an episode about that. Just how it works. How hard was it to start using it? And I imagine that the company where you're working, it's not small. That's the reason why they're kind of want to use this tool. So I wonder if it's like for everyone. If it's for small startups, would it be beneficial or not necessarily?
There is some pros and cons. No, mostly you're right. Like for enterprise level teams, it makes a lot of sense when you have a lot of people, especially if you want them to work across the stack. Like you want people to contribute to Node and to Angular, and you want them to use the same tooling. Let's say they're familiar with Angular, and now they're working on Node, so everything will look the same because NX actually extends like Angular schematics, and that's what they use for their CLI. So everything is CLI based.
Mm-hmm.
It uses Angular schematics under the hood. So it's very Angular influenced, I would say.
I see.
And
But
so
it can also
it's
work for React and web components, no problem.
yes.
Hmm.
And like just not just like we're using Nest on the backend
Mm-hmm.
where I work right now. So our app right now consists of Nest, Angular, all in the same place, same commands. It's pretty, but yeah, you're right though. It needs an episode, so that is on my list of things to really explore.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. And just FYI, if my camera will turn off, that's because my phone is running out of power, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So one more thing. So something that I came across during the week is deployment strategies, branch-based versus trunk. So the idea is that, say you have a repository and you have different environments. You have dev environments that potentially might deploy something to, I don't know, like dev servers, like to say like to the cloud with the dev subscription, and then you have stage where you would typically test your things pre-production, and you would have the production environment. So the way, like one way to organize things, especially for the smaller websites or microservices, is to kind of try to deploy from develop branch, deploy to dev subscription. For release branch, always deploy to stage environment, and for master, deploy to production. However, as I was working with our DevOps SRE department, there was a better suggestion that, concern being that your branches might get out of sync. Like sometimes when you deploy from develop to, like in dev environments, then you can see, like everything is working, but then you go to release branch, which might not necessarily have everything from master or from, like from some other branches. Then like that's where you kind of might see different experiences and potentially things breaking. So it might be better to deploy things with the kind of like always deploy from the master branch. So even if it's develop, even if it's stage environment, always deploy the master there, with the idea that like as you're deploying, then you should have some kind of approval steps so that, and here we go, camera
We lost your video.
All right, that's fine. Wonder if I can remove myself. That's okay. The idea is that you're always deploying master, and as a result, you will not run into those branch synchronization issues. However, that introduces a new challenge. How do you test your changes? Like, how do you play with your local changes and then like deploy maybe to dev environment? There is not always the code that you want to put in master that like you want to experiment with. So just trying to bring awareness that there are different approaches and they have some pros and cons and might require some strategy around how to do it.
So is this the same idea as the feature flags? Like you would have one branch and you have flags that would turn off and on certain features within your code, or no?
It's a bit further than that. It's like how, like, do you associate the environments with the branches, like with different branches, or do you associate environments with one specific branch, like master?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think you should maybe it's a big topic, so in the future maybe we can discuss it.
Right.
I like this topic of because we had similar discussions previous places I worked where we're deciding between branching. Like obviously we will have branching strategies, but yeah, deploying to different environments, different geographies. We were exploring options with like having just feature flags. But then that complicates the code a little bit because then you have if statements in certain places.
Right,
so-
right. Okay, and I think a couple. So we only have two more, so they should be quick. So why write small CLs? Marwan, do you know what CL stands for?
Commit line. I don't know.
So
Command line.
so this is like a kind of like Google engineering practice documentation that talks about how to create PRs. However, they use that CL language, and some people, like I found on Stack Overflow, people are also confused. Like someone says, "Oh, like it's." My guess is like it's Google speak, and they might mean changelog or small set of commits, blah blah. But the real answer is change list.
Change list. Okay.
Yeah. So, but the way how I was thinking about it as I was reading is just PR. So kind of like they're talking about how to create small PRs and those small changes. They talk about benefits, like review more quickly, review it more thoroughly, less likely to introduce bugs, etc., etc. Why, and when it's not necessarily working, when the larger ones are okay, and kind of like what are the different ways to split your PRs into the smaller pieces, as well as some advices. So I wonder, like in your practice, I know that you were working as a team lead, and like have you ever saw PRs that were so large that like it was taking like hour, half an hour?
All the time. I mean, over the time we've improved, but yeah, it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like in many teams where I worked, it's everyone agrees that it should be small and it should be this and that, but in reality, it always becomes a big ball of code.
Right. Yeah. So you can now potentially share that with your colleagues and
Sure.
see, like if something from it would work within your environment. Yeah. And one more thing that they have here. Sorry, you wanted to ask something? Or-
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So one more thing that they have here is how to handle reviews. Like don't take it personally, don't be angry. Try to fix the code, but don't leave the comment into, like, if you have to explain yourself, don't say like put it into that review system. It's better if you create a new commit that puts a comment in the code that explains something that is not clear. Like, and they're kind of like giving some tips around how to do it. So something.
I love this kind of stuff. So
yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
Right, and the last one, I think you're going to love it. So slides.com, like yesterday I was trying to see what else it can do for us.
Mm-hmm.
And very cool feature is highlight line numbers in slides. So the way how it works, like they actually show their features as slideshows as well. So you can kind of present a code and highlight lines. So say like you can highlight specific lines or some, like focus on one line, like what is changing, what you need to consider. And it's as simple as, like pasting a code and then just choosing which lines you want to highlight, as well as kind of like step by step, how would you want to change the highlighting.
But that's an image, right?
No, that is not an image. That's the thing. Like this, I can show you like even right here. So if I can only edit it somehow. So we can potentially create a new slide and paste some code in here.
Oh, they actually have a code widget thing. Okay.
Yep, and you enter code. So say it's like some page source. It has some HTML here. Can save it, and then we can say I want to highlight line 1 and 3 in the first tab, and then I want to highlight line 1 through 10, like etc, etc. And if you were to then preview it, then here it's highlighting line 1 to 3,
Sweet.
1 to 10. So it might be useful, like if we demonstrate some code,
Yeah.
then it might be very useful.
Slides has been a very good tool for us.
Yes.
Really love that product. Slides.com. We tried SlideShare, wasn't as good.
Yep. Okay, and I think that is it for today. It was again a long video, but a lot of details.
Yes, lots of information. Sergey, it's been a great episode. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marwan.
You're probably really hungry now for some cookies.
100%.
Thanks for sharing.
Yep. And thank you everyone for watching. It was a pleasure. Yes, please like, subscribe, leave comments. Let us know what you think.
Yes, please like and comment. And we look forward to another episode.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.